In the days of the samurai, Japan was a place of honor, war, and strict traditions. It was a time when the sword wasn't just a weapon, it was a way of life. Boys were raised to follow the Bushido code, which meant living and dying with discipline, loyalty, and bravery. These boys trained from the time they could walk, learning how to fight, how to protect their lords, and how to never show fear. But girls? They were expected to stay home, get married, raise children, and serve quietly. Even the daughters of samurai weren't usually trained for battle. The world had already decided what they could and couldn't do. But Nakano Takeko didn't follow those rules. She saw the world differently, and she had no interest in just standing on the sidelines. Nakano Takeko was born in 1847 in Edo, which today is known as Tokyo. From the beginning, it was clear she wasn't like most other girls. While other children played with dolls or helped around the house, Takeko wanted to learn everything: how to read, how to write, how to fight. She had a deep hunger for knowledge and strength. Her family noticed this right away, especially her uncle, who had adopted her and became a huge influence in her life. He didn't try to force her into a quiet life. Instead, he encouraged her. He gave her books to study and weapons to train with. And among those weapons, one stood out: the naginata. The naginata was a traditional Japanese weapon, a long wooden pole with a curved blade at the end. It was elegant but deadly. Historically, women of the samurai class were taught to use it for self-defense. But Takeko didn't treat it like a side skill. She treated it like a craft. She trained with it every single day, mastering the flow, the balance, and the sharpness of every strike. She moved with a quiet confidence, graceful but fierce. Before long, she was outperforming the boys in her village. Her uncle wasn't surprised. He saw a warrior in her, and she was just getting started. As she got older, Takeko didn't slow down. She became highly educated, a rare thing for girls at the time. She studied Chinese literature, military texts, and poetry. Her mind was as sharp as her blade. People who met her described her as graceful and intelligent, but also fearless. She eventually became a teacher herself, showing other young girls how to read and write, and yes, how to fight. But even with all her talent, no one expected she'd ever see real battle. After all, wars were still seen as a man's world. And then, everything changed. By the late 1860s, Japan was in chaos. For over 250 years, the country had been ruled by the Tokugawa shogunate, a powerful military government. But now, there was a new movement growing. People who wanted to bring power back to the emperor and open Japan to the modern world. This led to a huge civil war called the Boshin War. It split the country apart. People had to choose sides. Some supported the emperor and modernization, while others stayed loyal to the shogun and the old ways. The war swept across the country like wildfire, and soon it reached Takeko's home. Takeko's family stood with the shogunate. They weren't against change, but they believed in loyalty, tradition, and protecting the people who had always protected them. So when the imperial army came to Aizu, one of the last strongholds of the shogunate, Takeko didn't hesitate. She wasn't going to hide. She wasn't going to run. She picked up her naginata, tied back her hair, and prepared to fight. She was just 21 years old, but she had the heart of a general. Women weren't officially allowed to fight in the army. Commanders didn't believe they belonged on the battlefield. But Takeko didn't wait for permission. She created her own unit, a group of young women, many still in their teens. They were daughters of samurai families, inspired by Takeko's courage. She trained them, guided them, and led them. They called themselves the Joshitai, which means women's army. They didn't have armor like the men. They didn't have rifles, but they had their naginatas, their pride, and their leader. They marched to war not in fear, but with fierce determination. When the fighting started, the Joshitai didn't hang back. They charged into battle alongside the men. On the front lines, surrounded by bullets and cannon fire, Takeko moved like a storm. Her strikes were clean, fast, and deadly. Witnesses said she cut down enemy soldiers one after another, never pausing, never backing away. Her dark kimono moved with the wind, her naginata slicing through the smoke. The enemy didn't expect a woman to fight like that, but Takeko didn't care what they expected. She had one goal: protect her home. But war doesn't care about skill or honor. It only takes. In the middle of one brutal clash, Takeko was shot in the chest. The pain was sharp and sudden, but she didn't fall apart. She knew what would happen if the enemy captured her body. They would likely cut off her head and parade it around to shame her people. Even in her final moments, she was thinking about honor. With her last strength, she turned to her younger sister Yuko, who had been fighting by her side the whole time. She told her to take her body and bury it properly, so no one could dishonor it. Her sister did just that. She carried Takeko's body away from the battlefield and buried her beneath a tree at a nearby temple. A quiet place for a warrior who had fought louder than anyone. The battle ended in defeat for her side. The old era came to a close. But the memory of Nakano Takeko never faded. After her death, people in Aizu remembered her not as a girl who tried to fight, but as a true samurai. Her story was passed down through families, through teachers, and through history books. The site where she was buried became a place of respect. And every year during the Aizu Autumn Festival, young girls dress in white kimonos and walk with naginatas in hand, honoring the woman who proved that courage has no gender. Takeko never wanted to be famous. She never claimed to be better than anyone else. She just wanted to do what was right. When the world told her to stay silent, she spoke with her blade. When the world told her to stay home, she ran toward danger. And when people tried to write her out of history, her legacy refused to disappear. Most people remember samurai as male warriors in armor, but Nakano Takeko showed that true warriors aren't defined by their clothes or their titles. They're defined by what they do, by how they stand up when it matters most. She wasn't given power, she earned it. She trained harder, she led smarter, she fought braver, and she died with honor. More than 150 years later, her story still matters, because girls everywhere are still being told what they can and can't do, still being told to wait, to stay small, to step aside. But Takeko's life says something else. It says, don't wait, don't step back, step forward. Even if no one's done it before you. She didn't follow the path laid out for her. She made her own. She did it.